Morning, everybody. It's Josh, and I'm out on this beautiful day on the hiking trail with Alistair, Izzy, and Riggins, who is somewhere around here. We're just out for our regular morning hike. Alistair comes and boards with us quite often whenever his owners are out on vacation. And so whenever he comes here, he has a very patterned day. We do the same thing every day with him. And his behavior is on point. Now, Alistair went through our program about a year ago, so he knows all of his stuff. He knows his commands, so we're able to communicate with him very clearly and tell him what we expect of him, and he understands exactly what we're saying. You know, he knows his commands. Alistair, let's go. But why I'm making this video today is to really harp on the importance of a routine with your dog. What we've been calling a default day, a day that we can just repeat with our dogs that is similar from Monday to Friday, right? Like the dog knows what is coming next in his day because you've taught him or her. And the way that you do that is you use this training and you tell your dog what to do throughout the day. Like literally every activity you do throughout the day, you tell your dog how you'd like them to behave until you don't have to tell them anymore and they just start doing it on their own. That's the beauty of routine, right? And routine is very healthy for a dog to create stability in the mind, okay? And it'll also give you a chance in the beginning to correct any attitude that the dog might have. And when you try to tell them to do something and they say, I don't want to, then you can correct that and get what you're looking for anyway. And as the days go on, you'll see the dog won't be testing the boundaries. So you have this default day, you have this routine. The dog knows it and you know it. And this is pretty much what every day looks like, except those days where you want to go do something a little different. It's really no different than our lives. The typical life is you kind of know what you're doing when you wake up till you go to bed. It's kind of the same thing, especially the work week. And then on the weekends, you might shake it up and go do something fun. That's how I would recommend living with your dog, is make sure they have this routine that they're expected to follow every day using the commands. And then what you'll notice is the dog will start making good choices on their own. They'll start doing the things that you would normally ask them to do without you having to ask them to do it. And now you're getting in a good place. And you got a dog who's really thinking about how should I be behaving right now? What should I be doing right now? And that's what we're looking to create. So guys, don't underestimate the power of routine, of a predictable day, and put that on repeat. You want to create a day that keeps your dog well behaved and balanced and satisfied, of course. That's why we're out here on the hiking trail. But there's a lot of structure and discipline that goes into these days too. Put that on repeat for a few months and you will get your dog in a good place, behaviorally speaking. They'll be balanced and they'll feel good and they'll be listening to you, okay? And then of course, go spice it up every now and then. On the weekends or if you got free time, go do something a little different, have fun. But you always have this predictable day that you can revert back to, that you know if you don't have time to go and do something extraordinary with your dog, they at least have this day that keeps them satisfied, keeps peace of mind in the house, everybody's behaving, and everything's working out very, very well. You need to create that. That's part of raising the dog.
Come on, guys.
Now, if it's confusing to you, I'll give you a little example just off the top of my head of what a day might look like, for example, to get like maximum results with this type of work, which, you know, is what we do on a daily basis. Here's an example. Your dog sleeps in the kennel, okay? So you wake up in the morning. When you're ready, I suggest it's after you get coffee and you're feeling good to go work with your dog. You go down to that kennel, you let them out, you let them potty, and then it's upstairs, or for me, it's upstairs, and the dog goes on place while I get ready to do the next thing with them. So they're just kind of waiting. The idea is when you're not doing something with the dog, I mean doing something with them intimately, like playing ball, going on a hike, literally doing an activity together, they should be waiting, right? They shouldn't just be roaming around the house, getting into trouble. They should be on the place bed or in a downstay or in the kennel, waiting for the next activity, and waiting patiently, waiting quietly, and waiting respectfully, right? Not whining, complaining, and barking, pacing, getting into things, trying to fill up the time. Dog's waiting on place. I eat breakfast. It's time to go. I get the dog. I put the equipment on, and then I use my commands, come, sit, to get that equipment on if I want to, and then it's out the door we go. Maybe we're going on a walk, and I'll use my commands too. I'll give them free time, but I'll use heel when I need to. The heel command keeps the dog right at my side while we walk to a place that I can then let them off leash, especially if you're in the city. You're gonna want that command. Then when you get to a spot where you say, I think it's time for you to go have some free time, then we'll say break and let them go, right? It's just an example of how you could use this training, and once the dog's satisfied, I use recall to get the dog back to me, put them in a sit stay, get the leash back on, say heel, and now we're back in structure and we're going back home. Now when we get home, maybe I'll give them some water and a treat, and it's back on place while I go and spend the next hour or two doing human things, right? You understand how this is working? And then maybe, I'm assuming this is a day off, right? And then maybe in a few hours, we might go stretch our legs and do something else. Maybe we'll go out and play some ball, right? And then when we come back inside, the dog's back on place. So you see, we're using place, we're using down, we're using kennel time, we're using stay commands to teach the dog to wait patiently until it's time to do something again when the human says, okay? So we're getting rid of free roam at this point. We're not just coming in the house, letting the dog free, and now they're just all over the house. This creates the mentality of a dog who does whatever they want, whenever they want, and then they start demanding you around, saying, come on, let's go. I want to go outside. And this mentality causes a lot of behavioral issues. They tend to see things in the environment and just react to them, right? So like they're on a walk and they see a dog and hey, I want to go over to that dog. So I might pull you or start barking or start whining because I'm so used to doing whatever the heck I want, whenever the heck I want to, that when finally I see something that I can't have, I get really frustrated and I start throwing a temper tantrum, right? So this way of living with a dog gets them used to taking direction, and it gets them used to the fact that they can't always get what they want, but if they wait patiently, they know their human will take care of their needs and everybody will be satisfied. So that's why it's important. You create a good dog upstairs, okay? It's not just physically about the commands. It's about how the dog views you, how the dog views the rules, and creating that respectful mentality where the dog just feels good. It's like, man, this is a good dog. He listens, right? So that's why we do this. And we recommend doing it for a minimum after you leave this program for 3 months. 3 months of this default day and this structure, right? And no free roam, or what we call constant command. We're making sure the dog's in constant command unless they're on this, they're having free time, like Alistair is right now on the hike, or we're doing something with them, some type of activity. We're playing frisbee, we're playing ball or something. Other than that, the dog's in a command, waiting patiently, and we're holding them accountable through the training and correcting any attitude if the dog starts whining or complaining or something like that. And what happens is all that stuff goes away, okay? And you're left with a balanced dog who feels good, and this is actually long-lasting results. And here's the cool thing. Then we can actually start easing up on our dogs, and we don't have to use a constant command. We can kind of just use it as needed. But if our dog has a bad couple of days down the road or a bad week and they just feel like they need to be tightened up, we'll then put them back on this heavy structure until their attitude and their day-to-day attitude is cleaned up and everything looks good. It's kind of like grounding a kid, right? If a kid has a bad week at school, you might ground them, and what this does is it limits their freedom, and you monitor their behavior and correct every little mishap to straighten them out, to get them thinking properly again and being respectful. And then once they're there, here, you can have some freedom again. Don't mess it up, because then we're going back to the structure, okay? So don't underestimate how important it is to actually take the time to make sure you're telling your dog what to do from start to finish of the day, and making sure that you're raising them like this. You're creating the dog that you want, and then everybody's happy.
Come on, guys. Come on, Allie. Come on, bud. There you go.
boy, down. That's a good boy.